You know, I think a way more accurate name for this color is Greige mist. Hello, wee Highland cow. It's from Scotland. How cool. If you clicked on this video, then you're looking for some more information on the Benjamin Moore paint color OC30. And that's the color code for Gray Mist. We got the code, now let's get to cracking. And also, like the video, and then we'll get started. Thanks. I want to go over all the need to know information on this paint color so you can go out and make as good of a decision as you possibly can. More importantly, I'm going to let you know what not to do when using Gray Mist in your color palette. Picking paint colors is tough, right? And that's one of the many things that we really try to accomplish with our videos on the Paint People channel. At the end of the day, we're all people just doing our best. And I'm going to do my best to let you know what type of color Gray Mist is, what colors you can pair with it, and some awesome trim colors too, just so you get the whole shebang. Benjamin Moore's Gray Mist is not necessarily as gray as you might think. It has some parallels to another warmer leaning gray in Classic Gray, but Gray Mist is a little more visually warm leaning in its backdropped with a really nice misty overtone of gray. It's really that gray that's added, which tones down the saturation and gives it a very soft, neutral appearance that complements both warm grays or taupes that lean slightly more towards yellow or beige warmth. What makes it a really great option as a neutral color for a lot of people is it's actually not as yellow as a lot of the other neutrals, and the dose of gray in it does make it a much more modern version of beige. Which is why, like I mentioned earlier, this color is definitely more of a greige mist rather than gray mist. And even though I mentioned its color code earlier, it's actually one of those Benjamin Moore colors that has quite a few color codes, I think maybe 3 or 4 in total, but they all represent the same exact color, which is Gray Mist. So here are all the different codes that mean the same color, just so you don't get confused. One of the codes has an OC in front of it, and if you know a bit about Benjamin Moore's color collections or palettes, you'll know that OC stands for their off-white collection. Gray Mist, in many respects, is an off-white because it's very much a lighter color, but its LRV is only around 74, which means it's in the 74th percentile of colors in terms of lightness. If that sounds confusing, then I'll explain it this way. On a scale from 0 to 100, 0 being black and 100 being pure white, where it's reflecting all the light that hits it, Gray Mist is right around 74, so that top quarter of colors in lightness. This is not as light as some of the other white paint colors that people often recommend for trim and doors and ceilings, but it's still going to be passive enough where it'll never really feel too dark on walls, objectively speaking. So what are some colors to pair with Gray Mist? Well, I think due to its pretty understated nature, there's not a lot you can't pair with it. So that's good news. We like that. You can really make the argument for a cooler leaning coastal blue, like Sea Star as a paired color, or even go the opposite way to a deep earthy red like Mars Red. The wonderful part about Gray Mist is even though it's technically not perfectly neutral and balanced, although it has a lot of balance, it's still going to be a little more on the warm side as a gray, but it also still has gray in its name after all. Which means whether you want to go warm or cool with your more deeply saturated color choices, this one's going to fit either way. It's really flexible. The reason why I like a color like Sea Star in particular is because even though it's clearly on the cooler side of things, it also comes with a little green undertone too. So even in a blue-green color, you do have that touch of warmth in the background, which helps it trend towards the warmer direction as well, while still being clearly a cool color. And while you can continue in this direction with all sorts of different colors using varying levels of depth, probably a safer choice would be to go with a darker taupe color, which essentially is anything that is dominated by gray and brown. I'll choose Stardust, which is 2108-40, and this is quite literally just that. It's a pretty dark mid-tone taupe color. You have a color that starts with a slightly dark chocolatey brown base that's been toned with quite a bit of gray, giving it a tone of brown. This then creates the illusion of a little bit of a green undertone, and that's mainly because of the gray that's involved. But alongside the warmth in Gray Mist, the two colors coincide quite nicely. Again, there is a reason that a lot of designers gravitate towards colors like Gray Mist, and that's because of the wide variety of other colors that can work together with it. When I'm going with a trim color to go alongside gray mist, this would be a situation where I would simply just continue with whatever trim color I was using everywhere else in the home. The reason I say that is because you really have so many different choices in your trim color. I could see your warmer leaning whites like Simply White or even Cloud White working, or even your cooler leaning whites like Ultra White or Distant Gray. Those would be fine as well. I find that whichever way you go, it may have an extremely subtle impact on how gray mist will appear on your walls, but nothing that should look inherently bad. If you pick a trim color that clearly has some yellow in it, then maybe the yellow in your walls will be neutralized ever so slightly, creating a little more of that gray to come through. And vice versa. If you're a Chantilly lace fan, I'm just kidding, then your trim will really pop and it'll be clean and vibrant, allowing that bit of warmth and gray mist to really come through more prominently. You definitely have options here. So if you're painting a section of your home or even one room and you already like the trim color you're using in the rest of your property, the choice is easy. Just continue it in your gray mystified zone. So far, so good, right? Seems like gray mist is a pretty awesome color, and you don't really even need to think about it, really. But there actually is one major trap that can emerge with this color. Just as a slight word of caution, if you're fairly new to picking colors, and you're looking at a color like gray mist, or it specifically, try not to overcomplicate things with other similar colors. The easiest way to use it, in my opinion, is to just have it as a main color, or a starting point or base to build your color palette on top of, with more saturated colors, for example. When you start to mix and match those lighter off-whites together that maybe have a little bit of beige in one case and then a bit of green or a little bit of brown, your design can start to look a little bit like a mishmash of off-whites that could either be a pretty cool take on subtle, nuanced undertones, or they can all just sort of clash. And that's something that maybe you don't want. And in fact, definitely don't want. I would recommend starting simple with gray mist and allowing it to be a neutral canvas color for your design, rather than being a piece of an overcomplicated light neutral puzzle. I also mentioned a color called Classic Gray, which you can check out right over here. I have a lot of praise for this color. This is one of the Paint People's first episodes of Color Code, and it's because I just couldn't wait to talk about it with you all. Phenomenal color. Not unlike gray mist as well. You know, people, I love my grays like I like my coffee, warm, because overly hot coffee is totally overrated. Okay? It's too hot. I gotta wait to drink it? Come on. Okay, bye.